It's always a good day when we get to open a box from Lancaster. So I've been shooting the same arrow since I bought my first compound bow back in high school, and that's the Gold Tip Hunters. These are a bulletproof arrow. That's why I've always shot them. They've been great. About a year ago, my local bow shop turned me on to the Gold Tip Warriors, which are essentially the same arrow. They just don't quite hold the tolerances. And I've been shooting these for over a year now and love them. I think they're a great arrow. I've made a couple videos on how to kind of squeeze the most accuracy out of these. And I've been shooting them out of my elite result here. And with the local 5-spot leagues, I've been shooting in the mid to high 290s with these arrows. I stand by my claim. I think these are the best bang for your buck because you can get these for about 60 bucks online for a dozen. I found them on a couple different websites where they popped up really cheap, and I've picked up a few dozen for as little as $35 a dozen. That is hard to beat, and considering how well I can get them to shoot out of this bow, I don't know why I would change. This year I've decided I want to put some real effort into the Shoot Your Way Across Texas, and that is the NFAA 5-spot league that is statewide. Now, these have been doing all right, but all the cool kids seem to be shooting these telephone poles, so I've decided maybe I should step up my game and try out some new arrows, and that's what's in the box. Victory VTAC 25's, 100 grain points, and the new Bohning Atlas Vein. So, why VTAC 25's? Well, I've got buddies that shoot Victory. They seem to love them. They've obviously got a great reputation in the industry. These ones are pretty lightweight. That's why I went with the 25's over the 27's. These only weigh 7.2 grains per dozen. I'm really struggling. They only weigh 7.2 grains per inch. I don't even want to come out of there. Anyways, so they only weigh 7.2 grains per inch, so they're really lightweight. My idea is that I'll use them for indoor, and they're super light. They should be pretty fast. I can use them for some 3D in the summer. So I got them in the 300 spine because that's what I've been shooting out of my elite, and it really likes 300 spine arrows. So let's just give these a spin and see what they look like, because these are the 1000 straightness. They call these the elites, and I just want to see how straight they really are. So that one's got just a little bit of wobble in it. Like, not bad. Not as bad as some of the Warriors that I shoot, but definitely a little bit. That one's about perfect. That one's perfect. These things are so fat. That one's definitely got some wobble to it. That one's pretty straight. They seem to have a fair amount of wobble on this end. That's surprising to me, how much I'm seeing on that. It's honestly just a tad frustrating considering I think these were $170 just for the shafts. Like that one? That one is wobbling big time. Focus. There you go. Is it just me, or does that seem like a lot for a 1000th straightness arrow? There seems to be more wobble on the knock end than anything in these things. That one's glass. That one's smooth. And that one's smooth. All right. Let's check their weight really quick. Just see how consistent they are. These are all supposed to be weight matched within half a grain. So let's just see. 227.5 26. 26.8. 26.6. 27. 27.2. 27.2. 27.4. 26.6. 27.2. 27.4. 26.6. 26.6. Well, I guess we'll be moving on with this project. So I got the 100 grain points, and one of the things I wanted to check, because I know Victory has their own like insert weight system. I was just wondering if the fact weights that I currently have actually screw into this. Oh, they do. Awesome. So the gold tip fact weights will screw into these. I just went with the 100 grain points because, again, the gold tips I was shooting, I just had 100 grain glue in points. They shot really, really well with 300 spine. I know this is a different brand. I know it's a different spine or different diameter arrow, but knowing that I can add some weight to the back of them if I need to, that makes me really, really happy. Now, something I want to incorporate into this build is something that I learned recently. George Riles had a video where he talked about identifying the arrow node. I'm just going to put a dab of glue on that. And I'd never heard of that before. Had no idea what he was talking about. So I figured, let's try it out and see what it means. I've played with it on my other arrows, and it is incredible the difference it makes. So we're just going to try it out on these, figure out where that is, and we'll go from there. So to do this, all we're going to do is we're going to hold this end lightly, just enough we're not going to lose it. We're going to set this on the edge of the table, and we're just going to pluck it like a guitar string. So I'm going to put it right by the tip. You'll see how much that jumps. So I'm going to shorten this up a little bit, and we'll do it again. Doesn't jump as much. See right there, it doesn't even come off. And you go too far, it starts jumping again. So there's a window in here, right about here, where it will, it doesn't move as much. The idea behind that is when it launches off the bow and off the launcher, it doesn't kind of try to hop off the launcher. So I don't know how effective it is on my setup. I don't know if I'm good enough that this means anything, but we're going to do it anyways. So I want to figure out where it's hopping. Actually, because I want to have it as short as I can, as close to the point. So that's now good. About right there. Put a dot on there. I can check that again. Barely moves. Ooh, that's even better. Right there. So the idea is now that mark there, that's where you want it sitting on the rest. So this is how you would figure out how long your arrows are, is you figure out this is your rest point, and then you're going to add this much to it. So what I did prior to making the video was I put my bow in the drawboard with one of my old arrows, and I marked where my launcher sat with the arrow. So the idea is I want to cut my arrows so that I have this much length in front of my launcher. That's where that node is. That's where it seems to have the least vibration. So that's going to dictate how long I cut my arrows, because I'm going to cut from here back the length I need. All right, so I went through and did 3 different arrows and just tried them. And as you can see, they vary just a little bit. That was the first one, the second one, and the third one. But they're all within about a 1/2 inch. So the idea is going to be I'm probably want right about here, this length is where I want touching the launcher blade when they're cut to length. All right, this took some finagling, but I think I got it figured out. So this is my arrow I've been shooting. This mark right here is where it sits on my launcher blade. Okay, and I've got that lined up with my node mark. This is lined up with the end of the carbon. I've got my nock and bushings lined up. And what this is showing is it looks like I need to cut these arrows right at 29 inches. And they're 31 total length. So here's what I'm debating. When I spun all of these, the majority of them, the wobble was on the nock end. And this side's got the fancy coating on it. I got to cut 2 inches off. I'm considering taking it all off this side. If I do that, let's see here. So if I were to do that, that's kind of where it'd be set up. My veins would be that close to the label. I don't think that hurts anything though. I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to cut off the nock end because most of those were the wobble ends. Now, I didn't think the diameter was going to be this dramatic, but man, you compare that to one of the arrows I've been shooting, like that's just huge. And then this is a 4mm axis. Like the difference is just crazy different. Like this arrow will fit inside this one, and this one fits inside that one. Like that's nuts to me. That's the size difference between the 3 of those. Well, now the noisy part's over. We're going to square our edges here and do both ends because this was a factory cut. So now that these are cut, let's just spin them again and see if they look better. That looks pretty good. Ever so slight wobble. Well, looks like the same thing applies to expensive arrows as cheap arrows. Got to cut the wobble out of them and then you get better arrows. So, ooh, that's got a serious wobble to it. I'm going to set that one aside. Yeah, these are overall looking much better than they were initially. I was pretty frustrated there at the beginning. That one's got a little bit. So out of the dozen, these two got a little bit more wobble than the rest. These ones spin almost perfect. So I guess we'll roll with it. I guess next is points and inserts, or points and bushings. So normally when I'm building arrows, I will spin the inserts. I'll put a broadhead in them and spin them to make sure they're spinning straight before I'll glue them. Being that these are just getting glue in field points, I don't think that's necessary. So I'm just going to use the blue glue. And we'll get these all put in, and I'll get the bushings glued in too. Now the other thing with having these hot glued in, what it will allow me to do is if I decide I need some point weight on these to soften them up and get them to fly better, I can always just heat these points out, pull them out, put an insert in the back of them. Unlike my gold tips where I just pull the knock and run that wrench down the back, I won't be able to do that with these because they've got the bushing and pin knock in the back. Or not pin knock, but the small knock. Guess what I almost forgot to do? Bend test. I about glued those in before I got to this. Now here's the thing with Victories. They've got this line on here where it says it's spine aligned. They supposedly have already done it. This is my first set of Victories. I have buddies that have done the bend test on their Victories and said, you know, they're like 50-50. Some are aligned, some are not. So I'm not 100% sure what Victory uses for their spine testing or their bend testing. But here's how I'm going to do it. In case you haven't watched my other videos, what I'm doing is I got a point in both ends, and I'm just going to squeeze it, and I want to see which way the arrow bends. Ultimately, what I want is I want the arrow to bend down, and I'm going to mark the top when it's doing that because that's how I want it to come out of the bow, is I want it to flex down coming out of the bow. So I'm going to start with their spine alignment straight up, which is right there. And all I'm going to do is add a little bit of pressure. I'm not trying to flex this until it breaks the arrow. I just want to see where it wants to bend. And that bend mostly down. That's fairly in line with their mark on that one. A little bit off. Let's try it. Let's turn this 90 and see what it does. Yeah, it's not quite off. It's about 30 degrees off their spine alignment. Well, they've got two lines on here that say spine aligned. So which one's a line? Either way, it's not right. Because that right there is what makes it want to go down. There we go. So that's going straight down. That's the top for me. That's what I'm going to mark right here. That's the top of my arrow. So when I fletch it, I'm going to put cock vane on top. So as it comes out of the bow, it wants to flex down as it launches. Yeah, that one's almost exactly 90 degrees off. Anyways, I'm going to run through these, and I'll be back with you in a minute. We'll get bushings put in, and away we'll go. Perfect out of the gate. Another one that's exactly 90 degrees off. Now I've only used bushings on one other set of arrows, and the nocks were hard to put in. These seem to be the same. So I'm going to insert them before I put them in the arrow, just because I think it's easier. And I got this little vise here, and I can just slowly press them in. I'm not putting any undue stress on myself, the arrow, the knock, and avoid stabbing myself in the hand like I tried to on my last set of arrows. I go in super easy like this. So when it comes to the bushings, I'm not really heating the bushings up like I do the points because I'm not putting that much glue on here. These are just to kind of tack it. These don't have to withstand getting pulled out of a target. They're just enough to stick them and keep them from coming out when they're shot. Well, now I'm just peeling all the little glue donuts off. I'm not really sure what Victory uses to identify their spine when they do their spine line thing, when they mark them. Almost all of these arrows, of the dozen, probably 8 of them are exactly 90 degrees off, doing my way. The other ones, you know, they were within 20 degrees or so. There might have been one that was really close, but almost all of them were 90 degree different. So with what I do, I didn't see any consistency with the Victory marks. Don't know what that means. Guess I'll go shoot them and see how they do. And if for some reason they're not shooting good, I can just twist the nocks. I'll shoot them on Victory's marks and see if it changes anything. But I doubt that. I've used this bend test on a bunch of arrows and it has worked time and time again. So I'm going to stick with it. All right. And up next, we're going to fletch. I'm probably not going to fletch all of them. I'm just going to fletch like 6 and we'll go from there. All right, we have made it to the fletching phase of our little project here. Rule number 1 of fletching arrows, there is no such thing as too many paper towels. You always need them. So make sure you have a roll of paper towels. What I'm using here is just some alcohol, and I'm just wiping the shafts off just to make sure I don't have any finger grease, any of the manufacturing process, anything that might be on here that might stop it, you know, the veins sticking. So just wiping those off, making sure they're clean. I'm only going to do, I think, 6 of these for now, so I'm just going to do these ones. Yeah, and you can see there's definitely stuff coming off. So you want to get that crap off your arrow before you try gluing stuff to them. Now the vein I'm using is their new Atlas vein. So I'll put the stats up on the screen here so you can see it. This thing is massive. I'll set these things up here so you can kind of see the difference between them. Let me bring you down here really quick. So this one in the front is the ice vein that I've been shooting. Really, really like it. It's low profile. It's quite a bit longer. This is the heat vein in the back, probably one of their most popular, second only to the Blazer vein. And then that's the Atlas vein. You can just see, there's just so much material up here. So I went back and forth quite a bit if I wanted to do a 3 fletch or 4 fletch, because I've been 4 fletching everything for a couple years. But as big as that vein is, I think I'll get away with a 3 fletch and have plenty of control. Obviously, these are target arrows. I'm not sticking broadheads on them, so I don't foresee that being an issue. So I've got this set up already. I've already got the AAE knob in here calibrated so it'll line up, put my cock vein right where I want. And yeah, here we go. So a couple things I use. I'm using their Blazer Bond, Bohning's Blazer Bond. That's a good glue. I use these little sticks, these little craft sticks, because it helps spread the glue out and makes it work really, really nice. Q-tips are always good to have handy, just in case you want to clean up a little bit, in case you get a little overage. So let me get a few of those out and ready. And here we go. So I've got a mark on my jig here, so that's where I put the back of the vein, is on that tick mark. So all I'm going to do is line this up on here. The thing I like about boning veins is you don't have to prime them. That's been one of my biggest complaints with other manufacturers, is all the extra work. These things, you just glue them and stick them on and they're on. There's no extra. You just do it and it's there. So I'm going to put some dabs of glue. This is where I'm going to take this craft stick. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this through here and make sure there is a constant bead all the way through that channel. Make sure there's plenty. And then I'll take this and I'll just kind of run it across the top. So if there's any extra, it kind of wipes it off. And make sure there's a good bead all the way across. Click it on, slide it to the bottom. And I'm just going to press it down. Count to about 30. Squeeze and lift. Oh, those are some good looking veins. Boy, I really like these things. Oh, these are going to look good. These are going to look good. I think these were too big to do a 4-fletch. I think they look goofy. And I got to be, I have to think about these are wider, bigger arrows. So trying to make sure I got enough clearance from my riser. So I think just going 3-fletch, they're going to be just fine. Squeeze and lift. Spread our glue. And one more time. Oh, I think those look awesome. Got that cock vein right on top, so I got that lined up perfectly. Wow, those look so massive. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to fletch up the other ones, and then I'll get back to you. Now this Atlas vein is made of a different material because they have two veins that they came out with that are the same profile. So they got the Atlas vein and the Alpha vein. This Atlas vein is their softer material. It's the same one that like the ice vein's made out of. The Alpha vein is made out of the stiff material, which is the same thing the heat vein's made out of. They claim this Atlas vein is a little softer, saying it's more forgiving. In my mind, in a target world, that's what I need. If you're wanting to use these for hunting, you might want to go with the other ones because supposedly they make less noise in flight. But yeah, who knows? I don't know the difference. I don't know if I can tell the difference between these veins that much. I will tell you, I do like the way they look. They are a good looking vein. I think they're going to be popular. I think they're going to sell well. So I liked them enough that when I bought some, I bought a 100-pack of them. One thing I am realizing I need to do is I've got red knocks. These came with red knocks. I thought they were coming with yellow knocks from all the pictures I saw, but I'm going to need to pull these red knocks and get some yellow knocks ordered because I like the yellow way better. These are some good looking arrows. And I'm going to be honest, I am glad I went with the 3-fletch. I think 4-fletch would just be way too much on these. See, they got a pretty decent helical on them. It's nothing crazy. It's probably 2, maybe 3 degrees. Boy, I think those are going to be great. I really, really do. Let's weigh them. Let's see what they turned out to be. Let me put this stuff away really quick. All right, let's get a dry one here. So these are coming in. It says 368.8, so let's call it 369. $369 on the money. Well, I think they look gorgeous. No questions there. They just look beautiful. So I guess the real question is how do they fly? I'm going to go shoot a few of them, but I think I'm going to save the tuning video and make that a whole separate thing. There's a couple things I want to go through and make sure these are flying just right, but I think my bow's close enough. Let's just go fling a few of these at the target really quick. All right, shot one just so I made sure it was on the target. Didn't want to send one of these beautiful, expensive arrows in the middle of nowhere. Okay, we're about 30 yards. Tell you what, they look amazing. Nock fit is awful tight. I'm definitely gonna have to work on that. That's one of the things we'll do in the next video. But I'll send a couple here, and we'll see you on the next one. Oh, that sun is right in my eyes.